Welcome, Menaces. Today we're going to be talking about Roger Waters' lyrics, and the title is clickbait. But I'm... God. I can't. You can my chair's in the background. Okay. Roger Waters, lyricist, main lyricist of the band. He wrote all the lyrics to Dark Side of the Moon, the Final Cut. All five of those albums. They were. Why is I'm like a prison cell? I got bars all over my face. I thought, okay, I can't help it. I'll go back to squatting. I can't. My legs are so weak. And he wrote all these lyrics, but he was writing lyrics way before then. And basically, the only thing he did, the only thing that he did for the band was write lyrics. Right? He played bass too. He sang, but he can't. He didn't. He couldn't even know how to play how to tune a bass. He couldn't do it. He made Richard Wright tune his bass for him. Did you know that? I did. Richard Wright fans for the win. Roger Waters' lyrics are just so boring. They're apparent before Dark Side of the Moon. He was writing the cool stuff, right? Or it wasn't my cup of joe, but it was fine. I'll bring up something right now. I like abstract lyrics. I like lyrics that are just, they don't really tell you straight up, oh, this is how, this is what happened, They're kind of like abstract, and so the emotional evocation comes from the lyrics and how they're phrased and themselves, rather than just like, let me think of something dark, and then I'll write about it, and they'll cry because it's so dark, It comes from the lyrics themselves, the poeticism of them. So Roger Waters was kind of doing something like this. He took over lyrics writing duties more. Lyrics are cool, I guess. I don't really care that much about more. But around A Dark Side of the Moon being made, he said, we didn't say this literally, but this is what I've heard. He decided that he was going to stop making abstract lyrics and start making the direct lyrics that are just like blah blah blah. I'm depressed. My dad is dead. The straight up just blatant stuff. And that was such a terrible move, and it's like treated like, oh, Dark Side of the Moon has such meaning, and it's because Roger Waters stopped doing the abstracticism and he started doing the directicism. Those aren't real words, but the albums that have the most meaning to me are the ones that deal with stuff abstractly. Lyrically have the most meaning to me. Not saying that they are the best albums ever made, but lyrically, I think the ones that are more meaningful are the ones where they don't go around and try to be like, hey, I'm Roger Waters, I relate to you, don't I? So this was on Dark Side of the Moon, but I think where it's most notably noticed is on The Wall. And The Wall has some of my least favorite lyrics of all time. So, well, not least favorite lyrics of all time, but least favorite Pink Floyd lyrics come from The Wall. Hot take. The Wall is fairly looking at it lyrically, The Wall is a boring album, and it sucks because it could have been a good album lyrically if he tried, but no, he didn't. It wasn't. people make it out to be like this is something about how all humans are like that we all experienced this at some point in our lives, right? But I don't. That was not Roger Waters' thing. Um, Roger Waters was writing about like rock stars or something like that. That is true. That's what he was doing. He was writing about a disconnect between the rock star and his audience. And I'm not a rock star, and I don't care about rock star problems. Um, I don't care about Roger Waters' problems. I don't care about his problems, uh, which is all he talks about on the wall. Um, now, besides what the title says, I do like a lot of his lyrics, but only when they're satirical, I guess you could say satirical attack, something like that's demonizing something else. Mother, a good song from The Wall that I like the lyrics to. The chorus, delicious. It's got good lyrics that I like because it's critical. It is. I guess I could say I like it when his lyrics are critical. Another album that I like is Animals, which is just criticism all the way through. It's all satirical. I guess, yeah, because he doesn't outright say, except for pigs, which I love. I love pigs, by the way. But on dogs and sheep, he doesn't go, this is bad, and this sucks, and this is just so terrible about our society. He states what it is, right? But in a, like, demeaning way. I think I like Roger Waters better when he's angry. Good example, the final cut, S tier, straight up top tier lyrics on that one. The final cut is about war. It is an anti-war album. He writes about some other stuff in there too. And I'll talk about a weird discrepancy, but so while I was editing, you know, I noticed that I forgot to talk about this discrepancy. Um, so I'll talk about that now. Um, uh, it's a song from the Final Cut. You may have heard of it. It's called the Final Cut. And it is unlike the entire rest of the album in that the song the Final Cut is the song that the whole album is named after is about depression and like feeling isolated from the world around you, and the titular Final Cut is referring to a suicide attempt, and it's really dark. But I do think that here the lyrics do work because they are done surprisingly well for the same person who wrote The Wall, just who wrote Nobody Home, just like 4 years earlier. So, and not even that. The Final Cut was written during the production of The Wall, so it wasn't even like Roger Waters got better during the Final Cut. He just, I guess, he left off all the good lyrics because they didn't like fit or something. But yeah, that was that was what I was trying to say. Let's talk about his relatable lyrics. You know, I'm just gonna say something straight up. I don't think songs are relatable. Like, ooh, I listen to this song and it really represents me, doesn't it? No. Um, Dark Side of the Moon is a good example of him trying to do this. Um, besides, okay, I won't talk about time, for reasons. But, Us and Them, I talked about in my Dark Side of the Moon review. Excellent thumbnail, by the way. I talked about how I didn't like the lyrics to Us and Them, and it's because they're so simplistic, and yet I've seen people going around talking about how it's the most human moment on Dark Side of the Moon when it's the least meaningful to anyone because it's about war, mainly about war. I am not blind to other interpretations of it, but it is mainly about war. That is the most straightforward thing in the song, and it's about the people who are at the front lines of the war. I'm just gonna say it. I've never fought in a war before. Um, Besides maybe indirect stuff, I'm not currently being affected by a war, so like consider me lucky. but this isn't like something that I consider the most like relatable. So I guess what I'm saying is that how people paint lyrics can definitely ruin lyrics for me. I want to talk about The Wall now. The Wall is something. It's Comfortably Numb is a track that everyone friggin' they worship this song, right? They are like top 10 Pink Floyd song, the best Pink Floyd song. There are so many people who think, just check out the comments on, like, what is it? My video part 2, Pink Floyd songs ranked part 2, 2 of 2. Check out the comments on that. They if you don't think that this song is the best song ever made, they loathe you for it. They despise you. They'll be like, your ranking is shit. It is the worst. This is a dictionary definition of an L. Just the most embarrassingly dumb comments on that video. It's a good source of laughter for me. But Comfortably Numb's lyrics are specifically about drugs. It's a song about drugs. Talks about his hands being balloons, which is actually a really dumb lyric. My hands felt just like two, and they're like crying, right? Because balloon hands are so sad. But the song specifically is about drugs. It was inspired by Roger Waters' experience trying to perform a show when he had like insulin or something. He couldn't feel his arm, and he was trying to play bass. Doesn't really matter though, because his bass isn't prominent on most of the songs. So, he said it was like, this was the worst experiences of my life trying to perform a show when I can barely move. That was basically a word for word quote from him about the meaning of the song, and people think it's about depression. They're like, Comfortably Numb has the best lyrics because I'm so depressed. Pink Floyd fans are depressed, by the way, and I don't get that, because it isn't about depression. He says once, the child is grown, the dream is gone, and I saw somebody go out and say this was as the basis for like a meme, best Roger Waters lyric, right? And that's some sort of like objective fact, is that the best Roger Waters lyric is the child has grown, the dream is gone, which wasn't even an original lyric from that. That was from A Pillow of Winds. So I was baffled by how that was considered the best Roger Waters lyric. Like, there's so much better stuff on the final cut, but people always gravitate more to the personal, the deep stuff that isn't really, it's really shallow, I feel, coming from him. And let's talk about Hey You. Hey You, this isn't even like some sort of, oh, I think it's like fake deep or something. Hey You just has really dumb lyrics. Just absolutely bottom of the barrel, besides a Spanish piece and, well, I don't even know, Spanish piece. I would stop for a moment to think about what lyrics are worse than Hey You. But, I'll do it. One slip, candy in a currant bun. He didn't write any of those lyrics that I just mentioned. But, I don't think Hey You's lyrics are as aggressively bad as any of those lyrics, but it is down there as the lyrics that mean the least to me. Because he goes, Hey You, which I'm so used to hearing it as part of the song, because I've listened to the song so much, and they say it so much in the song. It's like us and them, too. But, they say, I'm so, but if you look at the phrase, Hey You, at face value, it is, if anybody used that in any context in real life, that is such a clunky phrase. That is the phrase that people only use when they don't know someone's name. I associate it with forgetting someone's name and just like going like, yeah, you, for the rest of the semester. This is not school related at all. Um, but that's just all. Beyond that, he spouts out some just straight up Marvel movie esque morals. Just straight up, this is the thesis of the song: United, together we stand, divided we fall. I said united because that is the tagline to Captain America: Civil War, which is an actual Marvel movie. So, uh, I'm right on that one, objectively. But Roger Waters' vocals on this song aren't something either. But this is not the Wall review. That's July. That is straight up July material for me. I'm not gonna get into my thoughts. John Karen does it better. John Karen does it better. Uh, but he does that, and bridge is fine. And I have other problems with Hey You, like how it's boring. Uh, it's got a flavor I don't kind of like. I kind of don't like. I mean, uh, and but my main issue is the lyrics. Verse 2 of Hey You is, I mean, he goes, "Would you touch me?" Also, why is there a switch? Why is there a darn switch? I don't even understand what's going on in this song even. There's a gosh darn switch in vocalists, but they're apparent. So David Gilmour is singing, and he is Pink, I assume. Dumb name. Don't give your character an actual name. Don't call him your freaking band. His name is Pink. And then Roger Waters comes in, and he's playing a third-person narrator, like outside the wall. And then Roger Waters comes in, and he's Pink. What am I supposed to make out of that? Roger Waters just wanted to sing on the song. Is that it? Because did he think that screaming was better for the end? Verse 2, we've got, I assume, Pink singing about touching him, which is so weird. And then he goes, sitting naked by a phone. Who is sitting naked by a phone? Who and why? And why and how? And why are they sitting naked by a phone? Is that supposed to be Pink himself? Who is the person singing? Who is it? Death? I read that it was Death. That doesn't make sense. Why does Death want people to touch him? Is Death lonely? Oh, so sad. Death. It's like so confusing, and yet it's just the lyrics are so blatant in what they're trying to say, and it gets all garbled up and spat out, and it's really dumb. And I spent like this is way more time than I thought I would spend talking about this. And so that's my opinion on that. We could talk about some other things. Hey You. It doesn't really make sense in the context of the album, which is another reason I dislike it. Because he's going, "Hey you, touch my skin," and then the next track, he's like, "I like being alone, and I'm an alone guy." And the track before it, the track just before Hey You, he was like, "I'm gonna shut myself off from the world forever." And then Hey You comes in, and he's like, "Help me out of here." It's been like 2 hours at most. This isn't real time, right? Okay? I can't imagine it's been that long since the Goodbye Cruel World. But, let's talk about Nobody Home. This is all side 3 of the wall. Side 3 of the wall is not my cup of tea, man. Nobody Home, good song, great song, by the way. The lyrics are just nonsense. They're nonsense. I got a little black book with my poems in. I got a bag with a toothbrush and a comb in. When I'm a good dog, and they sometimes throw me a bone in. He lists things that he got, and the people who listen to it are like, boy, this Howdy sure is a great Darnold song about depression. I'm not saying there's no meaning, but the meaning isn't incorporated well. It's just him talking about stuff he has and being like, yeah, isn't this so meaningful, right? And he talks about a piano, and it doesn't mean anything to me because when he says I got a grand piano to prop up my mortal remains, I think of a piano and not him being depressed or something, or not being able to go where he wants to. And I swear to gosh darn, people, they make so much of tiny little lyrics, right? Just, and you wouldn't even think that's something that people do. Take a song quote, right? And like just rave about it. But I think it's way more surprising that they chose this specific quote. I've got a strong urge to fly, but I ain't got nowhere to fly to. What? I could have written that. I want to do something, but I can't do it. Oh no. That is so the most simple, basic thing. And what's worse is that the song is not fit the lyrics. People are like, that line makes me cry every time. But removing the lyrics from the song, what do I hear? It's like orchestral. It sounds like a superhero theme, like bum bum. It's uplifting. It's an uplifting song, and then he starts singing about the depression or insanity or something. It's not there. There is nothing there. He said nobody home, and that's a synonym for being insane. No, this song's not about being insane. It's not. There is nothing else in the entire song to indicate that the song is about being insane. It is a song about him wanting to call his wife, and then he talks about random nonsense for 2 verses, and the last verse where he's like, I got Go Hills boots. That sounds... I don't wear boots, so I wouldn't know what those even are, but there's also just some weird lines individually in here. The Go Hills boots line, as I mentioned. The swollen hand blues. Anytime he mentions swollen hands, I'm like, ah. It's like the swollen feet line from True Love Waits, Radiohead. But, he mentions, a bunch of stuff about smoking and drugs. The bonin line, which doesn't make sense grammatically, unless I'm the weird one here, but I don't think they sometimes throw me a bonin. I don't think that wouldn't make sense if you said that out loud. And pretty much all of the lyrics, really. I mean, the swollen hands one, he says, I got elastic bands keeping my shoes on, which is a reference to Sid Barrett, but one question, and this is a real question because apparently this is actually happened. Why would you need elastic bands to hold your shoes? Like separate elastic bands? They should do that on your own. Was Sid Barrett too poor to afford good shoes? Or did he just like wearing broken, dirtied up shoes? Why would you need that ever? I'm an expert on shoes, by the way. I've worn shoes before, so I should know everything there is to know. My dad is a shoe expert. Well, I got pretty worked up over Nobody Home, and I was kind of planning to get worked up in this video. So, stay mad!